There seems to be some confusion on the video I made a couple days ago. Yes, it's another Boba Fett becomes Mandalore theory, but wait, hear me out. I know some of you don't like Boba Fett and think Din Djarin should lead the Mandalorians, and that's great, but the clues are in place. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Gerald, and I'm a Star Wars fanatic, and you can be a Star Wars fanatic too. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, join as a channel member, or join as a patron on my Patreon page. Subscribing is absolutely free. I also encourage you to leave a comment. I do read all comments, and I try to respond to as many as I can. If you look back at my videos, you can see that. I also pick one comment to highlight from this video, and I'll put it in the end of the next video. So stick around to see today's highlighted comment. Okay, with all that said, let's move on with today's topic. There are a couple topics to cover in today's video expose. Yeah, I don't know why I called it that either. Sounded fancy, I guess.
That's just fancy talk.
But the first topic is a quick one. I just want to clear something up real quick. I do not hate Din Djarin. In fact, quite the opposite. But I do think he's being set up for something, just not Mandalore. And I'll get to that in just a bit. But first, a little recap. And don't worry, if you haven't seen the video, I'll link it in the description as well as at the end of this video. Basically, it boils down to the armorer being Rook cast and Boba Fett being the mythosaur she was referring to as rising up to usher a new dawn for Mandalore. I don't want to go through all the clues that brought me to that conclusion again. You can go back and watch that video. Instead, I'll add more to it. I had some complaints that my video didn't match the narration. You're correct. My apologies for that, and thank you all for pointing it out. Okay, so back to the hints that make my theory possible. In Legends, Clan Fett was ancient. It didn't begin with Jango Fett's family, and it didn't end with Boba Fett. He didn't remain a bounty hunter and even acknowledged his heritage at one point. He then led Mandalorians to victory with Luke Skywalker against the Yuuzhan Vong, who may be reappearing with a different name. If you haven't read the Thrawn novels, I won't give it away too much. But back to what I was saying. Clan Fett was ancient, and their symbol was always the mythosaur skull. That changed in 2013 when they created Clan Keldau to kind of take the place of parts of Clan Fett's story in Legends. Cassius Fett was still the right-hand man to Mandalore the Ultimate, ushering in a new age of uniformity and collaboration within the clans of Mandalore. Sound familiar? Similar to what Jango Fett was trying to do as Mandalore and Jaster Muriel as Mandalore before Jango. So let's go through the signs that point to Boba Fett becoming the next Mandalore. And yes, there is foreshadowing within Din Djarin as well. So I'll start with his journey. As we all saw, the armorer cast Din Djarin out of the covert and even told him he was no longer a Mandalorian. However, in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, she told him that if ever removed his helmet, he could never put it back on. Yet, here, she still let him leave with the helmet on, his armor intact, and carrying the Darksaber, which she admitted to it being the symbol of a leader above all Mandalorian clans. So why did she let him leave with it all? Yes, she told him to gain penance by peering himself in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
Why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
And that would atone for him removing his helmet. But until then, his helmet, armor, and the Darksaber should have been stripped, right? Well, not exactly. Not if she was sending him off for another reason, other than to atone for his crime. She held the Darksaber, she trained Din Djarin as he tried to wield it, and she witnessed Paz Vizsla struggle with it himself. The weapon doesn't belong in Din's hands, and anyone who has wielded it without the right has had tragedy. Pre-Vizsla, killed by an Arueti, and Death Watch split up. Maul, captured and his super commandos imprisoned. Sabine, her entire house was wiped out. Bo-Katan, Knight of 1,000 Tears, or the Purge of Mandalore, and Moff Gideon, beat, captured, his dark troopers destroyed, his ship taken. Not to mention the Empire was defeated by a small band of rebels. That could just be coincidence, though. So Din Djarin carrying the weapon without a right to it, it could bring disaster for what was left of the Children of the Watch. It's the equivalent of a mom telling her teen to get the damn satanic Bible out of her house. Only She had to make him believe he was banished. Not very believable, if you ask me. He had even taken Mandalorian armor from Cobb Vanth. He knew the Beskar rules. No, she was sending him out to find the rightful owner. Now, if my theory is correct, the rightful owner back in the Mandalorian Civil Wars was Tor Vizsla, before being killed by Jango Fett. And since Mace Windu couldn't challenge Jango Fett for the Darksaber because Jango Fett was not carrying the Darksaber, Mace didn't win it. But why didn't Jango have the Darksaber if he beat Tor Vizsla for it? Well, the story went like this. Jango killed Tor Vizsla and was immediately captured by Dooku and other Jedi, then was imprisoned. The blade went back into circulation among Clan Vizsla, unrightfully. We see what happened to all them, don't we? Okay, back to Din Djarin. I went off on a little side quest there, sorry about that. Din Djarin's unfocused. He can't bond with the Darksaber because of his attachment to Grogu, an attachment that is like father and son. He isn't a Jedi. He wasn't raised as a Jedi, and he has very human feelings and emotions. Another attachment he's formed is to that of his covert. He seemed devastated when they told him he was no longer a Mandalorian. Who doesn't have any attachments? Well, Boba Fett doesn't have any attachments, and don't even say Fennec Shand is an attachment. What they have is a business agreement as far as we can see right now. But let's look at one more thing about what we saw or heard in Episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, when Pelimato was telling Din about the N1 starfighter, commissioned by the Queen of Naboo herself for the Royal Guard. Yes, the Royal Guard. This could be foreshadowing. A lot of people argue with me over this by saying this is just a stand-in ship until Din Djarin gets a real ship that can accommodate his needs. And that very well may be true. But why bring in this tiny ship at all if that's going to be the case? And why did Peli have to tell him the history of the N1 starfighter? It seems Din knew a lot about the innards of the ship already, and these ships fought off the mighty Trade Federation only about 30-something years prior. I wasn't active during the Cold War in the military myself, but I can tell you what a MiG is and what an F-4 Phantom is. Din Djarin would have known this type of N1 starfighter. It was redundant to tell him its story. She wasn't telling Din Djarin about the ship. She was telling us. Foreshadowing. But foreshadowing what? Well, and some of you won't like this, so I don't know what to tell you. Telling us that Din Djarin is going to play an important role in Boba Fett's rule as a Royal Guard type of figure. The ship is meant for a Royal Guard. She is selling it to Din Djarin. Not somebody else that could be a Royal Guard, not to Boba Fett who could be a sidekick to Din Djarin. She's selling it to Din Djarin. But what about my other question? Why bring an N1 into it at all? And don't tell me fan service for the prequels. Fan service is the pit droids, General Grievous's arm in The Mandalorian Season 1, and the Boonta Eve racetrack. In fact, there's been a lot of prequel fan service in The Mandalorian. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day. No, the ship was there to tell us Din Djarin's role in this whole thing. I know a lot of you diehard Din Djarin's fans don't like that, and then you think Boba Fett has become soft and Din Djarin's taking his place. And I'm sorry, but that's not the case. Like I said, I really do like him. And it isn't because, and I quote, he is what Boba Fett was supposed to be. He's in a different stage of his life than Boba. Sorry, Boba isn't in the shoot 'em up, ask questions later stage of his life anymore. He's moving on to bigger things. As we see, he's already proficient in riding large creatures and monsters. He even rode the back of the sand monster as he choked it out. He's already said he's rode things 10 times the size of a Rancor, and he's planning on riding a Rancor. Another big thing he will be onto is becoming Mandalore, like his Legends stories. He doesn't know it yet, but it's going to happen. That is, if my theory is correct. And if it isn't, I'm okay with that. But there are more and more signs pointing to it actually happening. If you think I'm off my rocker, I encourage you to save this in a playlist, then come back to it when I'm wrong and tell me, I told you so. Not to be a dick, but because that's how open I am to whatever the story plays out, even if I'm wrong. Now, I'd like to take the time to highlight the comment from my previous video. You take the time to write them, the least I can do is pick one to say thank you. As long as it isn't a hateful or outright toxic comment, I'll try to respond. If it is hateful or toxic, I'll just put you on blast in my video to give you the attention you're craving. But today's quote comes from Bocephus, and he had this to say. Hey Gerald, I've really been enjoying your content lately. The theories and deep lore stuff is absolutely awesome. Your passion, and dare I say fanaticism, for Star Wars really shines through in your videos. Bocephus, thank you so much for that. I am passionate about Star Wars, and I think a lot of my viewers are as well. Okay, most of my viewers here are as well. I try to give you all my very best. Sometimes that falls flat, but I get back up and I do it again the next day. Why? Because I love this franchise and I have the best group of viewers on YouTube. And usually I don't highlight comments that tell me I'm great. I'm not into the smoke blowing up the booty hole. But this one just stood out to me and it made me feel really good, so I figured I'd highlight it. So thank you, Bocephus. This is Gerald with Star Wars Fanatic signing off and wishing you all great health and happiness. Remember, this is the way, the only way.